Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Worton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Worton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 219. This is your host, Holly Worton, and I'm back with another solo episode. Today, I'm going to talk about business blueprints. I'm going to talk about why you need to create your own blueprint rather than using someone else's, even though that's super attractive, and how to create your own blueprint. I'm going to give you some examples of what other people are doing and what their blueprints look like, and give you some ideas, give you some questions to ask yourself, help guide you on the pathway to creating your own. Now, when I say blueprint or business blueprint, what the heck am I talking about? So you may have noticed that a lot of the online business people, especially the ones that are more established or have been around for a while or the more well-known people, often have a very clear way of doing things. So they have very specific offerings that perhaps they've had for years and don't ever change, or they have a very specific way of marketing themselves. It's like they've found the magic recipe that works for them. They're not just taking shots in the dark or throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks when it comes to running their business. They've done all the trial and error, they've cracked the code, and they've figured out what works for them. Now, a lot of these same people will take that blueprint and say, this is my 6-figure, 7-figure, whatever blueprint, and I'm going to now sell it to you and teach it to you. But as you know, if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, I do not believe that cookie cutter approach works. I don't think it works. I was going to say it doesn't work for everyone, but I just don't think it works. So the odds of someone else's blueprint working for you are pretty slim. It might, but it's probably not going to because you're a different person. You have a different business, you have a different background, you have different skills, you have different interests, you have different... Everything is different because you're different. So that's why your blueprint has to be different. I know it's so super tempting to read someone else's sales page that's so perfectly crafted and you think, oh, but they're going to sell me their blueprint and all I have to do is just follow the recipe and it'll make a beautiful business will come out of it. But that's not how it works. And I know that's kind of frustrating. So I wanted to kind of seg into a little something that I channeled last month in August when I went to Avebury. So I did a couple of channelings there. I went up on Windmill Hill 2 days in a row. And the first day I channeled this really lovely message that the guides clearly said was not just for me and that I had to share it with other people. And you can find that on YouTube. I'll include the link in the show notes. And then the next day I went back and I did a little bit of written channeling, also on Windmill Hill. Now, when I first wrote this down, it was pretty clear that the message was for me. But I think that there's a lot that you can take from this, so I'm going to share this with you now. Here's what they said. You must do the work, the light work. Do not shy away. This is the work you were drawn to. You were drawn to it for a reason. This is your work. Yes, you. Do it in your way, in the way that you know is right for you. Outdoors, in earth, in nature, nature goddess, love, light, energy, with friends, alone. Do the work that you know is yours, without fear, without shame, with love, light, pride, humility. This is how you serve. So, they were clearly talking to me specifically when they were mentioning stuff about nature and doing stuff outdoors, and that may or may not resonate with you, but all the rest of it, you can totally take on board. This message is so aligned with me and the way I do business and the way I teach. It's do it your way. You are the only one who knows what's right for you. And that's why you are the one who has to figure out what your business blueprint is and your way of marketing your business and your way of offering your services and your way of running things. So do it your way. If you take away anything from today's episode, it's do it your way. And this episode was actually inspired by some journaling that I did a couple of mornings ago. So I had gone out with a friend of mine on Friday, and we were talking about business stuff. We hadn't seen each other in probably 2 or 3 months. And she had had major shifts in her business since then. Like basically she's cracked the code to her business. She is fully booked. She's working with people just the way she wants to in 6-month packages. She had hired a new coach and she had hired a sales coach, and she had figured out how to create the right offerings for her clients, how to market, how to get people on discovery calls, and she's signing up people who are such a perfect fit to work with her. And I was so excited for her because I know she's struggled with this stuff in the past. She's been on this business journey for a couple of years now, and I was just thrilled. And I found that it was so easy to get caught up in her solutions, in her coaches, the coaches she had hired that had helped her get this result. Her speaking process, because she was getting a lot of these discovery calls through people who were coming to her speaking. She was doing little talks and also doing webinars and speaking online as well. It was so easy to get caught up in her new sales conversation style that she had learned. Like, I just wanted to learn more, partly because I think it's always interesting to hear what's working for other people. But it was like some part of my mind took it one step further and was just like, right. So if you sign up with her coaches and you start speaking in the way she's speaking and you follow her new sales conversation, you're going to crack your code. You're going to find your secret sauce, your magic recipe. And then I realized that I was being ridiculous because that's her code. That's her special recipe. That's not my special recipe. And yeah, maybe her coaches could help me. Maybe her new sales conversation style technique will work for me, or maybe not. But I'm just sharing the story because it's so easy to get caught up in seeing what other people are doing and saying, right, well, I've got to model that and it will work for me. Now, yeah, maybe parts of that will work for you and it's totally worth trying. But I think we need to approach those experiments as an experiment, as a way of saying, look, this worked for her. Her business is kind of similar or not. In this case, it's not. So let's give it a try. Let's experiment. Because I think there's a lot of trial and error in business, especially in the first few months, maybe years, until you find this magic recipe that works for you. And that once you've got it and it works, you can tweak it as you go. And until then, like I said, it's a lot of trial and error. It's just getting yourself out there in all these different ways and seeing what works for you. What works for you, not what worked for someone else. So what I realized is, of course, those are the pieces of her business puzzle, not mine. And to be fully open here, I still need to crack the code of my business puzzle. Like, I'm getting out there, I'm getting clients, I'm getting visible, things are growing, but I still haven't cracked that blueprint. I still haven't found that magical recipe of the thing that works for me, so I can narrow it down and just focus on those things and have that kind of flow, that sense of the machinery is working in the background and everything. Like, I know exactly what I have to do. Like, I'm still doing kind of the shot in the dark thing because some things work, some things don't, but I'm still trying. So I think that's a really important thing. What I'm doing is working, but I still haven't found that exact recipe, let's call it. So questions, like you may be thinking, how do I find what works for me? How do I find what ingredients go into my business recipe or my business blueprint? So I think it's really important to start out by looking at, what do you like when it comes to marketing your business and offering your services? And what do you not like? So I really like podcasting. I always talk about how this podcast was, a complete surprise to me. I mean, I haven't missed a week in 219 weeks now. I love it. It's easy. It's fun. I love my podcast. So thank you for listening, because obviously I wouldn't be doing this if you weren't listening. I like writing books. I love writing my business books. I like writing my walking books. Those are not related to my business, really. I love doing webinars, especially co-hosted webinars. I love all the stuff I do online. I like doing videos. I'm not like, oh my God, wow video. I love getting interviewed. I love it when people interview me on their podcasts or on their, if they have a video show or a video YouTube channel. I love being interviewed. So if you have a thing and want to interview me, I will probably say yes, because I love it. It's fun. I love having new conversations with new people, and it's just great. Love interviews. I really like speaking. But I've realized when I think about like what I used to go into London a lot, go to a lot of networking groups, try to get speaking engagements. And it's just, when I think about doing that now, I just think, oh my God, so heavy. Like if I could just like teletransport myself, like from my house to the event, speak, have a lot of fun, and then like teletransport myself back home, that would be possibly great. But the thought of like getting out of my house and going and coming back and the public transport and so it just feels really heavy, which was a surprise to me when I was exploring this, because I love speaking, but I just lately have found just so not motivated to go into London, which is where most of the speaking stuff happens. And that's part of the reason why I started shifting my business more into online stuff. It's been online always. I kind of quit the offline networking couple of years ago, I think it was now. So love speaking. And if someone invited me to go into London and speak, I would, but I'm not motivated to put my effort into traveling to speak. Same goes for when I traveled earlier this year to Brussels to speak at No Limits. I loved it once I was there. It was so good. But I was invited to that. So if I had to like go out and start pitching myself to stuff like that, I don't know, it just feels really heavy. So those are some good examples, because about you. Think about what kinds of things feel light, what kinds of things feel fun, and what kinds of things feel really heavy to you. So if you go back to the stuff that we talked about in Redefining Visibility, which you can still sign up for, it's now available as a home study program, which you can sign up for at hollyworton.com/RV for Redefining Visibility. So if you go through that and you think about which types of content feel fun and exciting, like doing a podcast, writing on a blog, doing YouTube videos, doing live videos, interviewing someone else, being interviewed by someone else, doing webinars on your own, co-hosted webinars, writing emails or newsletters, writing books, ebooks, audiobooks, creating graphics for like Instagram or Pinterest, like infographics, reviewing other people's products. That could be a good way to get affiliate income. There's so many types of content that we can create that help us to market our businesses and be visible. So I think that's kind of one piece of the business recipe or business blueprint. So of those things, think about what feels fun, think about what you enjoy, think about what you don't enjoy. And I think that's a really good first place to start, because it's all about doing these things in your way, when and how and where it's right for you. It's all about focusing your energy only on the things that are right for you. But sometimes it takes throwing spaghetti at the wall, trial and error, trying stuff, see what sticks, see what works for you. And play around. If you can come at this from a place of, as I said, experimentation, play, let's see what works, rather than, I tried this and it was awful. I tried that and it didn't work. Like try, experiment, have fun, see what works for you. And I think the other element to this is, what are the products and services that you're going to offer? So I'm really simple in my products and services. I've got my books. I've got my one-to-one work, of which I have 2 packages. You can work with me in 3 90-minute sessions, or you can work with me for 6 months, because I love working with people for longer periods of time, because that's how you can get really, really big change. And I love seeing people evolve like that. So that's pretty much it. I had an online program. It's kind of on the back burner now. I've taken it off my website because I want to upgrade it again and then re-release it. But that's that. It's pretty simple. And I like to keep it simple. I don't like having 1,001 offerings. So like I said, I think, two of the elements here are what kinds of content are you going to create? How are you going to get yourself out there? How are you going to get yourself visible? And then how are you going to serve your clients? So when I was doing this journaling, I was thinking about other people's business blueprints or their puzzle. And this is, as I said, it's your puzzle to solve. No one else can solve it for you. They can't do it for you. They can give you ideas to play with. Certainly you can work with a business coach or mentor, but ultimately you have to do the work yourself, but you also have to solve the puzzle yourself. You have to create your own blueprint because only you knows what's right for you. So I was looking at what other people do, and I think this will give you a good example because the people that have cracked their code are really simple. So I talk a lot about Fatumise, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Huge fan of his, been following him for about a year. I'm doing his Money Lab now. It's amazing, and I'm so excited to finally be in one of his group programs. He is so simple. So he basically just does Facebook. He doesn't send emails out to a list. He doesn't do any other social media that I can see. He posts a bunch of stories, like really human stories from his life and business and clients on his Facebook profile and I guess in his page too, or maybe not. I think it's just his profile and his Facebook group. So he's got a Facebook group. And you can only join the Facebook group if you are a friend of someone who is already in the group. So he's got this really convoluted way of accepting people into the group. So you have to friend him on Facebook and then send him a message and say, I heard about this through so-and-so. And then you have to send your mutual acquaintance a message to let them know that you want to join. And then they need to let him know. Yeah, it's a bit complicated. But he gets a great community of people who are truly interested in what he does and have heard about him through word of mouth. So if you want to join his Facebook group, which is amazing, send me a Facebook message, let me know you want to join his group, and I will connect you. So again, he has an email list that you can sign up to on his website. He does not send out emails. He does not blog. He hasn't blogged in years. I don't see anything else of his anywhere else on social media. He doesn't do webinars. He doesn't do videos. He doesn't do Facebook Lives. It's just that simple. And he also has very simple ways of working with people. The way to work with him one-to-one is he has this thing called a Rev. It's $1,500. He is booked out 5 or 6 months in advance. And that's it. And then every once in a while, he does these coherence labs, of which the Money Lab is the third. And he does 1 or 2 of those a year. And that's it. And again, did you hear me say he's booked out months in advance? He just posted, and he does no marketing. He just mentions in his Facebook group, hey, I've got one last spot left for February. Boom, it gets booked. Simple. Denise Duffield-Thomas, whom you also know I'm a fan of, she's been a guest a couple of times on this podcast. She does a weekly video, which she batches all at once. I think last year she batched all of her videos for the entire year. At the end of the year, had them all professionally done. Boom, all of her content done at once. They go out weekly. So she has a weekly video which gets transcribed and put up as a blog post underneath the video. And then the audio from the video is used for a podcast. So people can subscribe and just get that in their podcast app. She also gets interviewed a lot. She talks a lot about how she's got a blog post where she says she's interviewed at least 200 times a year for the work that she does. Simple. She also has very simple business offerings. For years, she has only had one offering, which is the Lucky Bitch Money Bootcamp. This year, she added a Money Archetypes program. That's it. 2 basic things. Simple. She has cracked the code. Marie Forleo, she's got one offering. She's got B-School that comes up every year. How does she market herself? I've actually seen her doing a lot of interviews lately, but she wasn't doing anything for a while other than her Marie TV videos and getting lots of affiliates to help her promote B-School when it launches once a year. Super simple. She has cracked the code to her business puzzle. This friend of mine that I mentioned earlier, she's doing speaking, she's doing webinars, and from there getting people into sales conversations and then getting them onto her programs, her one-to-one work. I have another friend who does joint ventures to get people on webinars, to sell them onto her online program. She does that once a year. From there, she gets them onto, some of them will come onto a live event, and then she will upsell them into her whatever it is that she's doing, whether it's a mentoring program or whatever it is that she's offering for the following year. So Simple. But I think it's probably fair to say that these people didn't crack the code to their business puzzle or business blueprint the first week, month, or maybe even year. It's trial and error that gets you finding what works for you. And then once you find that, you can keep it simple. And I think that's just beautiful. But again, it's about creating your own blueprint. So what are all of the elements that make up this? It's, again, how are you going to get visible? What kind of content you're going to create? How are you going to attract people onto discovery calls? If you do discovery calls. If you don't, you can just have a button on your website. Plenty of people do not do discovery calls. Try things out. See what you like. See what you don't like. See what you want to do. See what you don't want to do. What feels heavy and See what works. See what doesn't work. Let go of what doesn't work and focus on the stuff that you love and focus on making that work for you. Keep trying things. So moving on from what I discussed earlier as to what I like and what I don't like, I need to focus on my podcasting. I need to focus on writing my books, on my webinars, on my online stuff, on getting interviewed, because this is the stuff I love. So I think the more I can plan for doing more of this stuff, and then just keep doing it and keep getting better at it and getting it out there to more and more people, that to me, I think, is the path to my own blueprint. So as we talk about this, I'd also like you to be aware of the mind crap that comes up for you. So when you think about cracking the code or solving the puzzle to your business blueprint, how does that feel? Does that make you feel excited, or does that make you feel scared? Like, oh God, I could never do that. Other people can do that. It's easy for them, not for me. Pay attention to the stuff that comes up to you. What fears do you have around creating your business blueprint, not creating your business blueprint, your ability or inability to create your business blueprint? What blocks do you think you have? What's coming up for you that might be stopping you or keeping you stuck from finding your business blueprint? What might keep you stuck? What might prevent you from taking action on this, of playing with things, of experimenting with things? What beliefs do you need to have in order to easily play with this stuff, experiment, and create your own business blueprint? Who do you need to be as an entrepreneur to create your own business blueprint? These are the questions you need to be asking yourself. Journal on this. Write about it. Think about it. Talk to yourself about it. Talk to your coach about it. Talk to a friend about it. Start letting this stuff percolate, marinate in your mind, and see what comes up. Because you've got to take action on this stuff. You've got to take practical action, and you've got to do any mindset work that you need to do, any energy work to release the blocks, to release the fears, to release the limiting beliefs, the mind crap that might be holding you back from creating these things. So here's what you need to do. Take action today, please. Journal on this stuff. Think about it. What do you like? What do you dislike? What do you want? What sounds fun? What can you play with? How can you experiment? What can you do differently in terms of creating content, marketing your business, getting that content out there? And how do you feel about the products and services that you offer? Are you happy with them? Are you excited about them? Do you want to continue them? Is there something else that you'd rather do, but maybe you think you can't? Like maybe you've always wanted to run workshops or retreats, but you think, oh no, I could never fill a retreat. I don't know how to run a workshop. Or maybe you've always wanted to write a book, but you think, oh no, I don't know how to write a book. I'm not a good writer. What stuff is coming up there for you? So get clear on what sounds fun in terms of content, marketing, products, services, and also what is the mind stuff that's coming up for you so that you can bring that stuff up to the surface and start working on it, to shift it, and to get moving on your way to cracking your business blueprint. Because it's really practical stuff that's going to get you there. But you've got to be willing to do the work, both the practical work and the mindset work. And you've got to be willing to play and experiment and try new things. Try things that you think you might not even like. If you had told me 4 years ago that I would be doing a half-hour solo podcast episode a couple of times a month, I would have thought, no, not me. I can't talk. I can't talk for half an hour. Seriously, I probably would have said that to you. That's why I started out with interviews. I love doing interviews, wanted to have an interview show, but it was really hard for me in the beginning to do the solo episodes. And now it's super easy. I write out some bullet points, think about what I want to tell you, and boom, here we are, 29 minutes later, which means I'm going to wrap it up now. So thank you so much for listening. And please drop me a line and let me know what you thought about this week's episode. You can email me at holly@hollyworton.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and get in touch there. I would love to give you a shout out on the show if you like. If you do send me any comments, let me know if you want me to read them aloud on the show or not. And I would also love for you to join me in my private Facebook group, Business Mindset Alchemists, so we can continue the conversation there. As I always say, podcasting is such a one-way conversation. I've just sat here talking at you for the last 30 minutes. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. I would love to get some feedback from you in the group. Business Mindset Alchemists is a group dedicated to exploring business mindset and how you can get the mindset you need to achieve your dreams. I would love to see you in there. So if you go to hollyworton.com/group, you will be redirected to the Facebook group where you can join, and I would love to see you in there. Finally, whether you've been listening to the show for a while or whether you've just heard your first episode, if you're drawn to learning more about mindset work and you would like to learn more about how you can work with me, please get in touch or head over to hollyworton.com/call. And you can book in a call with me to learn more. I would love to work with you if you are ready to work on transforming your mindset. And thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a quick review on iTunes. It would mean the world to me because that helps get this out there to other people. It helps get the podcast discovered by other people. And if you have any friends who you think would benefit from listening to this, please pass it on to them. I would greatly appreciate that. And remember to visit hollyworton.com/219 for the show notes on this episode. Next week on episode 220, you've got another co-host episode with Joe Casey. We're going to talk about the importance of resilience in business and why we think it's a vital skill to develop if you truly want to succeed as an entrepreneur. This is a part of the shadow side of business that people don't really talk about, but it's one of Joe's specialties, and so I'm really excited to share this conversation with you because I think this is so important. So we're going to talk about what is resilience and why it's important. What purpose does resilience serve? How to build resilience if it doesn't come naturally to you. We're going to talk about the difference between a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. We're going to talk about how to pick yourself up after what feels like a failure. We're going to talk about the key questions you need to ask yourself in order to come back from failure. And we're going to wrap up with how to reframe the failures in your business. And that's all failure with air quotes because we don't believe in failure because failure is nothing more than feedback. So tune in for next week's episode. And again, get in touch if you have any comments about this show. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Worton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollyworton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.